Grandmama used to pray, oh Lord, please save them from the evil snares and all the dangers that entangle. Yea, though they walking through the valley of the shadows, just prepare and make them fit for every battle, because I know they bound to come, and I know they bound to fall, but in your bounty, Lord, preserve their beautiful. Right, we still survive and offer grandma's prayers, surrounded by the jungle and the lion's den. Tread light, cause these traps isn't conspicuous. They hide right in plain sight, thinking we don't see them when they linger. Look right beneath the surface, then leave a trail of corpses. Crisis, prices, your life a disposable commodity, like living in a fantasy, conditioned to believe that the system even cares whether selling CDs or walking or driving or reading. Look, they don't even need a reason. It's just you breathing and being black. When it's such a pretty fall, it don't seem like we falling at all, at all. It's just a GMO dream, where things are never really what they seem. Please cue the violins, tell them just to play me something pretty, cause this gritty city got me screaming bloody murder. Said it got me screaming. This gritty city got me on some. Look, get your hand up on my pocket. Distraction, so lazy they use the same tactics. Like condom with some trinkets, just don't let them get to thinking. That light bulb gets to blinking. You know niggas and ideas. Oh dear, my dear, you may not know me, but I know you very well. Foresight, they say hindsight is 20/20. Well, tell me something, we gotta see that history is on repeat, and maybe it takes a beat and a melody to speak a little louder than the message in the clouds or the essence in the air. I swear, my God is just so clear that a system driven by fear can never give us nothing but more of the same things. Oh, when it's such a pretty fall, it don't seem like we falling at all. It's just a GMO dream, where things are never really what they seem. Please cue the violins, tell them just to play me something pretty, cause this gritty city got me screaming. It's murder. Got me screaming, got me. This gritty city got me on song.
We ain't vote to get into this shit, so we won't vote to get out. We ain't vote to get into this shit, so we won't vote to get out. We ain't vote to get into this shit, so we won't vote to get out. We ain't vote to get into this shit, so we won't vote to get out.
We didn't vote to be colonized and enslaved. We didn't vote to be tamed. We didn't vote to suppress our rage and be trained. We didn't vote to be driven insane. We didn't vote to be disproportionately jailed. We didn't vote to be nailed to a cross daily and tragically killed. We didn't vote to be the guinea pigs for the birth control pill, or to be given syphilis by the soulless and deny medication while we lie ill. We didn't vote to be the first played, the last paid, and the last saved in the last days. We didn't vote to be stripped of our dignity and become afraid. We didn't vote to end fighting for liberty, for it is still necessary by any means. We didn't vote to temporarily camouflage our poverty in the stupidity of demonic dreams. And we didn't vote on the way reality is perceived, as so many of us seem to be seriously deceived. We only know what we're allowed to see, so sadly anything that's on TV is believed. We didn't vote to give the police the power to unleash a wrath that will slowly devour our people in a bloodbath, surrounding us with the reality of death until there's nothing left. Yeah, you do the math. We didn't vote to be this much miseducated. We didn't vote to be kidnapped, separated and traded, segregated to be integrated. We didn't vote to have our sisters sexually violated. We didn't vote to have our brothers special educationally castrated, to have them both to be later incarcerated, incinerated, left totally devastated, almost dead and forever looked upon by society as the most hated. We didn't vote for the demonic blockade on Cuba. We didn't vote for the forced trumped up charges on Asada. Got these crackers so mad only 90 miles from America, and they still can't fucking touch her. So you tell me who's freer, now that's black power. We didn't vote for the assassination of Malcolm and Chad, the torture of Abisu. We didn't vote for the unlawful incarceration of Mumia. We didn't vote to sign his death warrant, so we can't just vote to stop them either. Wasn't it Malcolm who stated the ballad of the bullet? This last part about the bullet we must have forgot, because if Malcolm was alive, he wouldn't have hesitated this long to pull it. And most of these reactionary side-stepping motherfuckers would have gotten shot. Why? Cause we ain't vote to get into this shit, so we won't vote to get out. We ain't vote
vote to get into this shit, so we won't vote to get out. We ain't vote to get into this shit, so we won't vote to get out. We ain't vote to get into this shit, so we won't vote to get out.
You know what time it is? This is RSTV. We're in the building. That was the Welfare Poets family up in the Bronx doing their thing. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Welfare Poets. Shout out to my man Razor Sharp. You know what I mean? And the whole crew. If you haven't heard of the Welfare Poets, make sure you check their back catalog. That particular song right there was from their 2000 album, Project Blues. So if you don't know about the Welfare Poets, I'm gonna tell you, go ahead and get a late pass. Today we got a big show. You know what I mean? I kind of thought that one of the guests wasn't going to show up, so we switched up. But nevertheless, you know, we're going to make it happen. And the guest will be here, is what I'm hearing at this particular point. I want to start off by bringing a brother to the stage who is no stranger to the RSTV airwaves, to the Black Power Media airwaves. First, before I even go there, salute to all you that's checking us out right now. You know what I mean? Shout out to all the folks in the chat to keep it live out there. Matter of fact, while you're there, put in the chat where you at, where you hitting us up from. Anyway, without further ado, hey man, Ajamu Baraka, what's happening, brother? How you feeling?
Doing good, my brother. How's my sound?
Man, you sound good, man. Sound crisp. Sound like a cross between Ray Charles and Lena Horne. How that work? You sound good. Can you hear me?
I don't hear you. Do you hear me? I hear myself.
I hear you. Those fresh headphones. Maybe you can't hear me on it.
I see your mouth. I see your mouth. Your lips moving, but I don't see you ain't saying that.
I think it's your headphones. Can you hear me now?
How about this?
I hear you. Can you hear us?
I hear you now.
Okay, cool in the game. It's them fly headphones, man. You know.
Man, I was trying not to see, and I'm gonna talk about my boy. He bought me these fancy earphones. He's trying to elevate me, but I can't use them right. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Oh man, he hit you with the remedial headphones, huh? You good though. I'm glad you here. I'm glad you can hear us now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you got fly on us. But anyway, definitely always good to have you on. We know that your running mate or former running mate, Jill Stein, she's running a little late. You know, she'll be coming on board to join us. But you know, you and I, we can chat for a while if that's all right with you.
It's cool, man. It's cool. Let's go.
Okay, cool. First and foremost, how you feeling these days? You looking sharp?
I'm doing good, man. I'm looking forward to trying to get a little time off. I mean, it's very difficult because we're at a critical moment in history, and you know, it's hard for us to relax, especially when you think about the fact that it ain't no time to relax for if you're a Palestinian in Gaza, you know.
Sure.
But I'm gonna pull back a little bit if I can, you know, at least be able to sleep in a little bit the next few days after this week, that is. But now just kind of get ready for the fight that's going to intensify. I'm absolutely sure of that in 2024. So I'm good, man. You know, I can't complain. I mean, you know, it's been a good run, and I'm still running and gonna keep on running until they take me out of here.
No doubt. You know, I ran across something a few days ago. You always talk about we met a long time ago, and we was on some bill together. I meant to say that I was kind of running through it, but it must have been about 15 years ago, I believe.
Probably, yeah.
And I was like, oh, Ajamu was there? So I guess it's the grays on me or something like that, man. I don't know.
But you know, whenever I see your opening and I see your young years, it brings back memories. I remember when you showed up on the scene. Yeah, you don't remember me though. That I remember you.
So I'm sure I was a quiet gentleman when I came on the scene, huh?
You came in blasted, brother.
Well, man, listen, man, if it ain't rough, it ain't us. Anyway, you mentioned 2024. We know it's an election year. I mean, it's, you don't need a thermometer to check the temperature at this particular stage in the game. You know what I'm saying? It's clearly, you know, volatile. It's clearly flammable. And we're gonna need a whole lot of backup. So, you know, first we're gonna call our good friend Jill Stein to the stage. Jill, how you doing today?
Really great. So good to be here with you, Kalonji and Ajamu.
Yes.
Hey, Jill.
Good to have you. Good to have you. Yeah. So last time I had the two of you on together was about 6 months to the day. We
Really?
brought you on and we was talking about another friend of ours. And we want to kind of I'm gonna start it off with that. I mean, like, it's been a changing of the guards, for lack of better words. We just gonna go straight into it. We're not gonna act like we don't know what's going on. But last time you were like, okay, cool. We're backing Cornel. You got him pumped up. And things have changed throughout the piece. I think that he's on his third party right now, and we see that you're actually running them. So can we talk about that? How did this change of events, and from your estimation, come about?
Yeah, and I'll let Ajamu chime in on his perspective, but we were really excited about Cornel's run and about him kind of leading the charge for the Green Party and using all the resources that the party's put together, like especially challenging empire and oligarchy on the ballot and fighting for power. Because if you're not fighting for power, it's just kind of a token thing. And this is all about, seriously overturning this illegitimate, predatory oligarchy and empire that is crushing the life out of all of us here in this country and around the world. And we have developed over the decades, actually, the ability to actually challenge them and get on the ballot to do it. We were on the ballot in 47 states in the last election, and currently we have ballot access going on 20 states, but it's way more than you'd think from 20 states because these are big states. These are very difficult and expensive ballot campaigns to run. So if you look at like the total fight to get on the ballot and actually contest for power, we're 80% of the way there. And what we saw in Dr. West's run was that, his voice is powerful and has huge resonance, and the issues that he's running on, to abolish poverty and empire, their time has come. And there was huge resonance there. But the team never quite congealed as a team for various reasons. And then after whatever it was, 2 or 3 months, Dr. West decided he wanted to go it alone, which is how he's always done it. He's been a solo voice and a powerful one. That's different from the kind of skills and, resources of running with a team. It's not easy to run with a team. But on the other hand, you have a lot of strength as a team that you don't have if you're doing a solo thing. So he decided he was going to go his own way. And we didn't know about that until it was a done deal. And then we learned about it. And at the time, I think we had 2 or 3 weeks before we had to apply for the California ballot. And that's huge. And suddenly, we were going to miss that deadline if we didn't really jump and hold on to our incredible, resource of being able to fight in California, which is huge, and which would in and of itself cost maybe $4 or $5 or $6 million if we didn't use the party's ballot line. So we jumped, and Ajamu and I had a serious discussion. I really wanted him to run, and he really wanted me to run. And he's a persuasive guy, and he got his way, as he often does, because he can make the case. So that's how that transition happened. And we launched with kind of just the bare bones of what it takes to launch a campaign. And so, we're only a month out from that launch now. So it's taken a while to staff up and so on, but we're really excited. And we've continued pursuing ballot, which is really the bottom line. If you don't have ballot status, the rest doesn't really matter. So where the fight really counts, we are continuing to prevail. And if you compare our campaign with all the other independent and third-party campaigns, we're the only ones that have ballot status now. I think Dr. West is on in one state. In Alaska, we're on in, which is not a particularly difficult state. We're on in, basically, we have 80% of the fight behind us, and we are continuing to charge ahead. And the issues that we have always been fighting on, basically to end oligarchy and empire, and to tackle crushing inequality, endless war, going nuclear, and climate collapse. And these are crises that are existential, and they're all converging. We've been ahead of the curve in this fight, and the curve has caught up to us. History has caught up to what we've been talking about. So this is just such a powerful time to be running as what will be, I think, the only pro-worker, anti-war climate action campaign that will actually be on the ballot across the country. And let me let Ajamu get his perspective in.
Well, I don't have a whole lot to add to that. I think that, of course, there's other details that we probably will at some point get into, maybe after the election. But like Jill was saying, I was very much excited about the possibilities of this campaign. Partly because I've been working for most of my adult life to try to find ways to split Black folks from the Democrat Party. Here we had, for the first time, a really credible opportunity to, in fact, do that. I mean, even the Jesse thing that I finally got involved in '84, I opposed the Jesse campaign, but strategically by '87, '88, I was right in the middle of it. Partly because I was under the illusion that if we empowered Jesse, knowing that the racist Democrats were not going to give him the nomination or even put him on the ticket, even though he came in with the second highest amount of votes among the field, that Jesse and his ego would march Black folks out of the Democrat Party, and Jesse would run as an independent. But I was still, relatively naive, I guess, about some of the stuff. And of course, that didn't happen. In fact, the opposite happened. Jesse cut a deal with the Democrats, got a little piece of money, access to a plane, and then began to systematically dismantle the Rainbow Coalition. So here we have Cornel West, who, as he said himself, was well known. He said nobody knew the Green Party, but everybody knows me. Well, African, that's the point. Okay, that's the tool you had to make history. Okay, so this opportunity was there, because with 40% of the Democrats prepared to consider a third party, with independents that were leaning toward a third party, with the dissatisfaction and the people have the Democratic Party, the disrespect that the Democrat Party leadership has for Black folks. This was all of the elements were together for something really historic to occur. But as Jill indicated, for reasons that still aren't completely clear, our dear brother decided, and it wasn't a conversation we were a part of, that he would embark on a quest to be an independent candidate, and so he basically moved away from the weapon he had, which was his party, a party that has the experience of getting on ballots. If it was that easy to get on ballots, then all of these third and fourth and fifth parties who've been running for years would be on more than one or two or whatever ballots. It's a science to this, and you got to build experience. And say what you might about the Green Party. The Green Party knows how to get on the ballot, okay? And the Green Party doesn't just run at the presidential level. They run candidates at every level of a government. The last thing, this struggle here is a struggle not just for advancing a candidate. I think Jill understands and way her campaign is being developed, and the way we ran it in 2016 was that this is part of a protracted struggle, a struggle for power, and that the electoral arena is one of the areas that we contest for power, that we build power, that we build structures of opposition. So it ain't no candidate-centered sort of approach. I haven't heard Jill talk about, vote for me and I set you free. Jill's talking about the absolute necessity for building a movement, for building a apparatus that can not only express the interests and the aspirations of millions of people out there who are fed up with the duopoly, but who understands that this battle goes beyond just the election in November. So, we wish the brother, all the luck in the world. He is, as Jill said, a powerful moral voice. He's raising serious issues or serious questions, and we encourage him to, in fact, continue to do that. But in the end, it's about also, these structures of power and what is really going to be the threat that the duopoly, in particular the neoliberal Democrats, are going to be the most concerned with. And so we know that, unfortunately, Jill's going to be under the gun again, like she was in 2016, because the real issue that the Democrats have is to have a credible candidate that's in opposition to them on the ballots in these key states. And it seems like the Jill Stein campaign is in fact moving in that direction. So she is going to be in the crosshairs again. But I think she's very much prepared and able to withstand that. If you can get through what we went through in 2016, and Jill in particular, because people have to remember, the shit didn't end in 2016. For some of us, we would all start doing other things. We started building the Black Alliance of Peace and all kind of shit. But for Jill and the campaign, you look up and the campaign is the subject of a Senate investigation. And they're trying to make all these allegations and these folks are serious. You see what they're doing with Trump, so she had to go through a whole lot, and Jill really just coming out of it to a certain extent just recently. So right. I admire the fact that she has, when we talked about who might run, I said, you got to be the one because you got the fire in the belly. I don't have that for that kind of work, and so that's where we are today.
Did you want to say something, Jill? Or?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Ajamu has plenty of fire in the belly, and I would still try to twist his arm if I could get him to change his mind. He'd be great. But we've sort of agreed on the current setup. And his point about, being in the crosshairs, I mean, like they never stopped. And so I was like really battle ready. I've been battle ready because I've been in battle since 2016 and, fighting the Senate Intelligence Committee for 3 years, which gave us basically a complete exoneration. But of course, the media completely ignores that. And they keep saying, oh, Putin puppet and collaborator and all that. But it's been like completely investigated and laid to rest, which is kind of the cool thing because they've used all the smears that they have. So they really can't come up with anything new. So it's a very fun battle, and we know exactly what we're getting into. And it gets easier every time you do it. And I have to say, that just the course of history has moved into exactly the place where we said it was going, where inequality is just, off the charts. And, over 60% are struggling paycheck to paycheck, and half of renters, are severely stressed just trying to keep a roof over their heads, and child poverty has doubled, and homelessness is at an all-time high. So it's not like people need to be convinced. Young people are like 50% describe themselves as hopeless about the future. So, it's not like we have a tough sell here. People have thrown in the towel. They are done. People are just done being thrown under the bus. So the powers that be and the Democrats are just terrified. And right now they're kind of going after everybody. But as the dust settles, if we remain so far ahead on the ballot, we're basically the third campaign right now. We're close to getting on the ballot across the country. And the way things look right now, we are going to be the third party, and it's not on the ballot. It's not clear that the other candidates will get on at all, because they're not yet. There's a lot of talk, but it's not happening. And they have a huge hill to climb. Even RFK, with all the money he can raise, he himself has called for raising about $18 million, I think. He may have pulled that back a little bit now, but it's huge. It's not clear he's going to be able to do it. And on the war and the devastation of the war and the genocide that is on full display against Gaza now, and the role of both of the political parties and really all the candidates except for Dr. West and the PSL candidate and ourselves. We're the only ones, who are opposing genocide, and the American people are opposing genocide, So it's like we are where the people are on war, on empire, on genocide, on healthcare as a human right, on free public higher education, on the right to a good job and a good wage. And, the Democrats and it's just like mind-boggling that the Democrats and Republicans are trying to ram these zombie candidates that are widely reviled down our throats. And the time couldn't be better. This really is the perfect storm for political transformation.
We've had all three of these candidates that you're talking about are against genocide. Claudia de la Cruz, of course, Dr. West, and yourself. And you all make compelling arguments, right? So I want to know, because the obvious question is going to be centered around the Black vote, right? Is the Black vote really at play here? How's that looking? And also, we know that Dr. West has had criticism for the Green Party, saying that they were unable to attract and keep whole Black folks. So I want to know what's your take on that, and if it's if his argument is correct, or is it just game?
Yeah. Jama, do you want to jump in on that first, or you want me to?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the Green Party is not a perfect party. On the other hand, it is the only party that is non-corporate, that has managed to maintain a national profile for the past really 15, 16 years. All other non-corporate parties are wiped off the map. So they're not even around to contest. We're all fear campaigned and smear campaigned, and many of us collapse under that. You can look at, the party of Peace and Freedom, for example, a socialist party that had traction across the country in maybe 15 or 20 states. They're beaten back to one state. The Justice Party that formed during 2012, they were here for one cycle. The Labor Party, which was founded at the same time as the Greens, out of the organized labor movement, and they were going to be a third party, and they could never get off the ground. I mean, there are just so many slings and arrows that come at you when you're a third party is not easy, I mean, and the Panthers included, I mean, and they were just obviously assassinated and, blown out of the, out of contention. So, and COINTELPRO, no doubt, is alive and well, in our organized groups and political parties. So it's a very hard row to hoe. And at the same time, the Green Party is the strongest opposition party that arguably has existed in the last 60 years. And we managed to keep fighting. And there's a lot of improvements that need to be done. And, I really welcome, that's why Ajamu was the running mate in our campaign. And that's why we continue to work to make this a real, party of the people and to make it a vehicle for Black liberation and the Black fight as much as anything.
So let me jump in too. I think that Jill's made some significant points that, as she said, the Green Party is not a perfect party. It's not and it can't be a perfect party. It can't be a perfect structure in a settler colonial project that is riddled with white supremacy and with the kind of history that this country has. But she also mentions that it is a credible alternative to the duopoly. And with that, it has enormous potential. Of course, there are internal contradictions, like any of the structures and institutions in the U.S. that need to be dealt with. Many elements in the U.S. don't understand or respect independent Black politics. They don't understand, and they definitely don't understand radical independent politics. And therefore, they don't have the experience or the language to be able to build the kinds of relationships that have to be built and maintained in order for a structure like a Green Party to have a multinational and multiracial character that is united based on some common principles and positions, and be able to work together and achieve certain specific kinds of objectives. But again, that comes from experience. And there have been serious efforts on the part of the Green Party to, in fact, do that. But it's been a struggle. And so Cornel's critique is a legitimate critique. And Jill recognizes, like anybody, that there are these kinds of challenges. But one of the things that would have occurred and still might occur under Jill's leadership in the campaign is to tap into those organized and unorganized elements within the Black community and within the other colonized communities that see some value in putting up a resistance through the electoral process, and with that having the perspective that says that the most credible structure that we can work through right now is probably the Green Party, and to enter into that process. And by entering into the Green Party in the process of this campaign, actually altering, transforming, changing the party, if you will, to in fact make it a mass-based party that not only will contest in the elections, but can be a mass-based party that can continue beyond the elections. I know for a fact that there are many members of the Green Party and many Green Party structures around the country that are in fact attempting to do that, to not just be an electoral party, but to be a real political party that's involved in community-based struggles, that are attempting to organize. But like any process, it requires experience, and that experience is still being constructed. So, it remains to be seen what's going to happen. I have full confidence that, as his party, as his campaign gets itself together, that there will be serious efforts to, in fact, build relationships with those elements in our communities and others who see the opportunity to build a credible, radical alternative to the duopoly.
Okay, appreciate your response. It's a lot going on in electoral politics. You mentioned RFK, right? And you know, and I mean, we have the RFK situation, that factor. We have Trump being kicked off of the Colorado 2024 ballot there. It looks like hell in the handbasket, to be quite honest with you, just from our vantage point. You know, how do you view RFK? Is he, you know, is he a distraction? Does he have a snowball chance in hell? You know, is he a threat to the Green Party? And what does it mean right now with the situation with Trump in Colorado? And could it possibly catch fire? And what does that mean to the rest of quote unquote America?
Yeah, I mean, both of those are really important, and they also kind of connect. I think at the end of the day, RFK is competing more with Trump than he is with us. And as his policies kind of come into focus, I think a lot of his base is not happy and is kind of waking up, and some are walking away. People think of him as a peace candidate. He describes himself as a peace candidate, but he's really kind of leading the charge. He's as aggressive as anyone now in supporting this horrific genocide and, you know, arguing for it and, you know, talking about the people of Gaza as what the most pampered, or whatever the language was that he used to say that the people of Gaza were being, you know, exactly the opposite. They're being murdered. They're being subjected to genocide and ethnic cleansing. And they have been, you know, really since the founding of the state of Israel in 1948, you know, and the initial Nakba. In fact, even before the founding of the state of Israel, there were massacres being carried out to basically try to make room for the Zionists, as opposed to the Jewish community that had been there and lived in peace. You know, this is not a religious conflict. This is a colonization. You know, this is a settler colonialism project that is conducting ethnic cleansing and genocide. And RFK is completely oblivious to what's going on. He plays very fast and loose with the facts and the history. It's really quite, you know, disturbing to hear him. And then one begins to see that he plays fast and loose with the facts, really across the board. And I think his credibility is shrinking as people wake up to what his campaign is actually about. So I don't see that we are competitors. You know, I'm glad that he's in the race, that he is stirring things up, that he's an independent voice. In some ways that helps make it easier when, like, we were the only, you know, highly visible, or actually it was us and the libertarians, but we were kind of the subject of the Democrats' ire. Now they're really after all three of us, but I think especially RFK and us. I think they're not all that worried about Cornel, and he's kind of given, you know, some sort of respect and some room to have his voice, because I think he's not really perceived as a threat. So I don't see RFK as competing with our base. I think many of the people who have already walked away from his campaign because they thought it was an anti-empire campaign, or more of a pro, you know, social justice campain, he really doesn't have positions on jobs, wages, unions, healthcare as a human right. I mean, he gives lip service, but doesn't really come up with specifics. I hope we get a chance to debate him. I think he's largely, you know, we'll see what he agrees to, but I think he's trying to defend himself from conversations that actually challenge him. And I think there's a really interesting discussion that could be held here. And Trump, I think Trump is kind of getting his, his deepest wish right now by the ruling of this court, which really incites his base. And the court ruling is pretty sketchy and, can be challenged on many counts. I think, voters want to have the right to approve or disapprove candidates themselves. They don't want appointed judges to be making these decisions. And I think any of us who are perceived as outside of the mainstream are at risk in this kind of thing. So, I think this is this is sort of the perfect scenario for Trump to further incite his base. I think it's a very risky strategy to try to prevent him from being on the ballot. And besides, it really exposes the hypocrisy of the Democrats, who do plenty of their own manipulation of the electoral process, more upfront as opposed to after the fact. They're not trying to change so much the result of the election as to really rig the election from the outset. It was admitted by the head, Donna Brazile, the head of the DNC, that the Democrats had in fact rigged their primaries in 2016 in order to keep Bernie Sanders off. What do you call it when the Democratic Party in Florida declares that no one but Joe Biden will be allowed into the Democratic primary? If that's not, manipulating the election, what is? So I think what's going on with Trump is just part of this crisis of democracy. And it's not just about appointing electors, fake electors. The crisis of democracy is far bigger than that. And, it's the loss of our, the freedom of the press and our right to protest. And look at what's going on in Cop City and the criminalization of protest and, declaring peaceful environmental protesters as eco-terrorists and then threatening them with decades in jail. Our democracy is really in a shambles, and the role of money that just gets bigger and bigger all the time as deeper pockets, exert an ever tighter stranglehold over our election process. So people are really fed up with the assault on our democracy and our civil liberties altogether. So, are they that bent out of shape about Trump? Yeah, the Democrats certainly are, but I think a lot of people just see this as another sign of how rotten the empire is. And the Democrats want to say, oh, we fix it, just by protecting our electors. We fix our democracy. They don't want to define the crisis as any bigger than that, which is pathetic. It's ridiculous. It's a joke. And we need, a whole spectrum of democracy reforms in order to restore the sense of confidence and trust in our institutions, which have been completely shattered. It's like the glue that holds us together is gone. And that, that's very much a part of what we are talking about and have been talking about for a long time and proposing real solutions that could begin to fix this. We have to get money out of politics altogether. We really have to restore the integrity of our elections, allow people to have choice. The Democrats are campaigning against us, saying that we are the biggest threat right now. Having an additional choice or the right to choose in elections, the right to choose who you vote for, is a huge threat to democracy. From their point of view, that's how they're characterizing us. So, it's a joke.
Yeah. Well, let me say that this is one of the freedoms that one has when you're not running for office, in the sense that I'm gonna frame things in a slightly different way, but the content is still relatively the same. RFK is a neoliberal clown. In the end, he's a sheepdog for the Democrats. His campaign is not serious. He's not a serious individual. The very fact he is a bit of a force, or was a force in the Democratic Party, is merely the reflection of how pathetic the internal politics of that party are, that resulted in him having any kind of real say at all. his position on the Palestinian question and Israel is enough in and of itself to completely disqualify him. He should be completely rejected by anybody with an ounce of morality. That objectively, if you are in the same category as Genocide Joe and Donald Trump on the issue of Palestinian self-determination, that you are a pig and you need to be rejected by the masses of the people in this country. Lastly, unfortunately, we can offer certain kinds of reforms as organizing and tactical kinds of issues, but this thing is not going to be saved or repaired. This system is rotten to its core. The contradictions are irreversible and irreconcilable. The only solution in this country at this historical moment is radical, fundamental change. Now, it's not going to come all of a sudden, but we got to be absolutely clear about what is the recipe for addressing the objective needs of the people of this country and the world. And that's important to bring in that link to the world, because politics in the U.S. can't be understood, and the importance of politics in the U.S. can't be understood in abstraction from the impact that U.S. policies have on the vast majority of the population on this planet. The U.S. and Western Europe represents an existential threat to global humanity. These folks have made it quite clear that they are prepared to blow up the entire world in order to maintain white Western hegemony. They're clear about that. And this grotesque spectacle that we see in Gaza, with a genocide being played out right in front of our eyes, with no effective way to intervene to save the Palestinian people, it demonstrates the absolute danger of having the global institutions and structures under the hegemony of this group of psychopaths from the West. So this is going to be a moment of clarity, and at the forefront of opposition coming out of Gaza, coming out of this Palestinian struggle, are young folks across the board, a multinational element of young folks who are making the connections. They're beginning to understand that the only way we're going to make change in this country is not through reform, is not through trying to rescue and restructure the liberal democratic process, but through radical change. It's quite clear that the form of democracy in this country, bourgeois democracy, that the rulers themselves have determined that it's no longer valuable, that in fact it's become a yoke on the ability to maintain their hegemony, and they have jettisoned. That's why this is what is understood with this decision in Colorado. They have decided, on the heels of polling that says that Trump is heading toward a victory, some elements in the ruling class have decided that we're going to completely jettison any pretext to democracy, and we're going to do what we have encouraged others to do across the planet, and have in fact done ourselves across the planet. We're going to subvert their process. We're going to have the opposition put in jail or declared unqualified to run. And so all of these kinds of activities that the U.S. has been involved in is now being applied in this country, because the bottom line is these are anti-democratic practices being executed by a corrupt and rotten bourgeoisie that is only concerned about itself and maintaining its power.
I want to ask, and I appreciate both answers. I know you both have things to do, so I want to ask, maybe about 3 more questions, if that's all right. But I want to start. I guess this would be 3.5. So I'll start with this one right here, and this would be going to you, Ajamu. You all mentioned Trump, and you mentioned his cult following, right? What's the chance of a possible civil war coming up out of this whole conundrum when we talk about what's going on in Colorado? If this in fact spreads. As Joe mentioned, this is right up Trump's alley. This is like, this is what he needs to spark that fire. They've already demonstrated that there's no fear and that there's no respect for the quote unquote Constitution or just the U.S. government as a whole. So, I know that might be a wild question, but in the times that we're in, it's not far-fetched. So
no,
I
just a good question.
Take on that.
It's a good question, and see what we see. What's happening right now is that the ruling class is in complete disarray. I sent you that link, brother Kalonji, from the New York Times, that was an analysis of Donald Trump. In fact, it was one of the most interesting pieces I've seen lately, I've seen at all, coming from the bourgeois press on the Trump presidency. Because what it did was to put into perspective what many of us have always understood, that is that this characterization of what the Trump administration was had no relationship to reality. And what it did also was that it started the process of this interesting attempt to rehabilitate Trump. It represented, in my mind, the beginning of the surrendering by element of the bourgeoisie to the inevitability of a Trump presidency, and to providing support for even more dramatic fascist configuration in this country. And we already have to deal with the neoliberal fascists. They are fascists. Okay, there's no question about that. If you understand the class definition of fascism, but they are in opposition to the Trump element, because the Trump element represents a faction of capital that they are in competition with right now. They don't want to see the nationalist element of the bourgeoisie gain any more control, because this element will put some degree of constraints on their international agenda. So, this element represents the only credible opposition in the U.S. Therefore, they are the target of repression from the neoliberal fascists. But there seems to be now this movement towards some attempt at a reconciliation. But on the other hand, you still have this other wild element of the bourgeoisie that wants to use the power of the state to completely undermine any challenge to their power. And therefore, they're used and they have weaponized. I mean, what Trump said is absolutely correct. They have used the legal apparatus of the state to, in fact, undermine their political opposition. And this decision in Colorado is a perfect example of that. Now, and you show you how the idiot liberals who live in another parallel universe, they actually believe that decision was a good decision, and they should be replicated across the country. Mm-hmm. Going to your question, if that in fact happens, if they indict or they push him off the ballot and he's not able to run, what do people think those 75 million people that voted for Trump are going to do? And these are some elements that are in a fighting mood also, okay? It's almost like, do these liberals want civil war? So, what we're leading to in November, and it may not really matter who wins, is the continuation of the intensification of these internal contradictions, because the U.S. is an artificial nation. It's going to spin apart. 2025 is going to be a very dangerous period for all of us, and in particular African people, because when this country begins to spin apart, it's going to be on a regional basis, and the South. States in the South will dissolve and disassociate from the so-called union. The issue we have here is that the majority of our people are in the South. The majority of the military apparatus is in the South. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then we have the rest of our people in 9 urban areas that will become killing zones. If you think these pigs can justify and get away with the slaughter of Palestinians, what do you think they're prepared to do in this country? That's what we're trying to wake these Negroes up to. That you all right here talking about the Israelis and you support Israel. And these people are engaged in a massive slaughter. If they can do that, justify it, and get away with it, what the hell do you think they're going to do here in the U.S.?
Worldwide.
So no, it's going to be a very dangerous moment for us these next few years.
Would you like to touch on that, Jill? Or
I can't take issue with that. And, in many ways, this existential crisis of our democracy that could take us to civil war parallels the existential crisis of our health, of the climate, of nuclear weapons, of militarism that's just gone beyond the pale and that is bankrupting us, impoverishing us, while it is lighting fire, to the world. And I did a house party the other day, the first house party of the campaign, that just happened to draw neighbors of this host who were across the political spectrum. It included Republicans, and a lot of apolitical people, and some Democrats and some Greens. It was a really, really interesting discussion. And there was so much common ground, face to face. There was a lot of common ground just in feeling like the whole ground that we stand on is collapsing beneath our feet. And where are the structures of society that, where is our faith? Where's our belief in where we're going? And it was, I have to say, it was a really great kind of affirming conversation that face to face, in a small community kind of way, we could find a lot of common ground and kind of agree on a transformative, progressive agenda. And people were very supportive of the campaign, even Republicans who came assuming that they were not going to support this campaign. They found that, no, we are not the concept of, liberals or progressive Democrats. We're not in that zone at all. And, so I don't know. I feel like I have both a sense of, incredible despair about where we are, but also I feel like we've hit such rock bottom that it makes all kinds of other things possible if we can get outside of, kind of the conventional framework that has us into red and blue camps, red and blue warring camps. Now, that said, there weren't any flagrant racists who showed up. And, so you could say, well, this wasn't a real conversation that didn't cross into the other side. But, I feel like the motivation behind that kind of insanity and violence and fascism, fascism grows out of desperation, and fascism grows out of economic despair and hopelessness. And, I think that in offering in the same way that many Bernie Sanders supporters went over to Trump after Sanders was sabotaged, it's like, can we hold out a lifeline, which is a progressive, radical, transformative agenda that enables people to feel like this is really different, and this is not that kind of corrupt neoliberal mindset that is, just mowing us all down, essentially. I feel far more hopeful, out there talking to people and talking to a lot of people. I just feel like the hopeless construct that we kind of are otherwise stuck with breaks down if we can, engender a real honest and respectful conversation. I know that kind of sounds like rose-colored glasses, but I have found that to be true really throughout my political life. And from the very start, found that when you can get outside of the boxes that we're supposed to live in, all kinds of stuff becomes possible, especially when you're dealing with a strong force of young people who are ready to really abandon the power structure. That can be such a transformative and uplifting and inspiring path forward. And I just feel like all bets are off right now. Things could go totally south and we could wind up in a civil war, but we could also wind up in a, in a radical revolution. And who knows which way we're going to go. I don't know. But if we don't jump in and push the envelope where we think it should go, then it's definitely hopeless.
Right on. Final question. I know you all have to push, and that is right now globally we have here in the U.S. first we have the whole situation of police terrorism. Over 1,000 people murdered by police this year alone. We're talking about over 60-something people indicted here in Atlanta on RICO charges with Cop City. Over in Palestine, according to the media, 20,000 deaths so far and countless displaced. What are we looking at? What can be done from an organizer and a politician's perspective? What can we do? What can be done? Or what should we be doing at this particular point? That might be more appropriate. What should we do?
First, we have to recognize the moment that we're in, that we are confronting a desperate and dangerous ruling class that has committed itself to the use of violence and force to maintain its hegemony. We have to also recognize that we have our people that are completely disorganized right now. So that what that means is that the only way that we're going to be able to survive and to prosper, that is to go forward, is we've got to get ourselves organized. So building effective organization is the number one priority. Organization, political education, developing survival programs on the local level. That is the task that we have. Preparing ourselves to be able to defend ourselves, to defend our communities, because as I said, this crisis is only going to deepen. The issue of lawlessness and paramilitarism is only going to deepen in the U.S. And I might sound dramatic to some people, but the writing seems to be on the wall. So it might sound simplistic when we talk about the need for organization, but name me a revolutionary change that took place without organization. Show me a historical experience where people survive without being organized. So that for us is the primary task. That's what many of us are attempting to do. It's difficult, but we have no other choice but to in fact do that.
I want to agree completely and add to that this kind of historic opening that we have, because while things have become really violent and polarized, the numbers also really confirm that people aren't buying it, and the power structure, the ruling elites are tiny, top 1% to 5% maybe. And the numbers of people who are really in opposition to that right now are huge. And, you can look at polls where over 63% now, it's the highest ever, say that the two ruling parties have thrown us under the bus, and we need a political structure that serves ordinary people. The numbers of people who identify with the ruling parties are about 25% identify Democrat, 25% identify Republican, and 50% reject them both. So, we have, I think, an incredible opening to really change things, especially among young people who have no future, do not have a climate they can live in, or clean water, or a secure food supply, and, don't have much hope of getting out of debt, or having a secure place to live. So the demographics of things really work towards change right now too. Many, many factors are lining up to make really profound change, not just possible, but absolutely inevitable. And which way that change goes depends, as Ajamu says, on us being organized, on us having an agenda, on our having clear messaging and priorities and vision, and then a program for actually educating, reaching out and organizing. And I want to encourage people to go to our website. This is one of the, this is the real reason for running political campaigns, not because you're necessarily going to win that race, but that you are going to prevail in the struggle, and you're going to build on that struggle. And elections bring people face to face with people, as opposed to like ideology or a political party. That's kind of that's one of the strengths of contesting for election. You're not only fighting for power, but you have people who are talking to people. It becomes a human story and a human narrative. And it's really a time to do that. Go to, Kalonji has it there in the corner, JillStein2024.com, and join in, become a part of that organizing. And we hope to roll that over. In the last election, we were ambushed, coming out of that election. And I was basically, accused of being a Russian asset, and then had to deal with an investigation from the Senate Intelligence Committee. So I was not able to help, we had all sorts of plans about how we would then bring the campaign energy, people, fundraising, organization into the party. And we were really waylaid, and it was not possible to do that. This time we're a little more warned in advance, so we can begin to get those structures in place. But this is all about rolling over from the campaign into ongoing organization, which we have already. That's how we're getting on the ballot, but we need to build on that in a very big way. So I really encourage people to, to join the team, and be a part of this battle, because we need to fight it like our lives depend on it. They do, in every way imaginable. So come on board.
Right on. I definitely appreciate your time, Ajamu, Jill. And we look forward to hearing from you in the future. In fact, I want to put out that one of the things that I would like to do is put together live debates right here on this platform.
Great.
So just in case, I know folks, sometimes it's difficult to get certain people in the arena and in the ring, but I'm putting it out there right now to you and Dr. West, also Claudia de la Cruz. And I hate to say RFK, but you know what I mean? We can just, let the people decide, because I think that unfortunately, well, actually, fortunately, we're in a different climate and we're in a different time right now. So, it doesn't necessarily call for, folks to meet up at some television studio or lecture hall or whatever the case is. We have technology. And I think that as candidates, the people deserve to, to choose for themselves. That's what a democracy is supposed to be, right? But anyway, we definitely appreciate you all coming on board. Looking forward to bringing you back on. And be safe out there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great talking with you both.
No doubt. Thank you. You're checking out RSTV. That was Ajamu Baraka and Jill Stein. Jill Stein's running for 2024 election. So make sure you check out what's going on her side of the camp, the fence. check out her website, see what she's talking about. You know, and continue to continue to fight, continue to organize. Organization is where it's at. Stay on point. Stay tuned. We have a whole lot coming up on here on RSTV and Black Power Media. We appreciate you all. Till next time, be safe out there. Oh, I'm still here, huh? Let me take you all out with some music. How about that? Anyway, checking out RSTV. Be safe.
Talk to him, Dr. Clark. He called for the unity and the redemption of the African world. Salute them, Honorable Marcus
We were not ready to listen then.
They might not have been ready then.
There's wonder whether we are ready.
Ain't no doubt about it.
To listen.
We ready, baby.
Now.
Let's go. Yeah.
Flag fly high. Flag fly high. Flag fly high.
Black fists in the sky, waving side to side. If the flag fly high. Come on.
Flag fly high. Flag fly high. Flag fly high.
RBG's on the rise, all eyes will recognize.
Flag fly high.
Hold it high. Let it fly. Rep those colors forever, Garvey will never die. On my 90, the throne ready, let's take a ride. Cats won't fix, men don't, choose a side. This is the path for the warriors. Seldom travel yet and still vainglorious. Black power represents us. You either rolling with Africa or against us.
Flag fly high. Flag fly high. Flag fly high.
Black fists in the sky, waving side to side. If the flag fly high. For the blood, I got the best stock, the rest got sludge. The black is for the gods, melanated and elevated, holding the main charge. The green is for the cradle, Africa everything first, the earth's navel. His Excellency put it together as a symbol of liberation, that's how we get the letters RBG.
Flag fly high, flag fly high, flag fly high.
With the side to side, if the flag fly high. Come on.
Flag fly high, flag fly high, flag fly high.
RBG's on the rise, all eyes will recognize.
Flag fly high.
Been blind minds since 99. People on me, them know the time. I'll the drab on my design, we roll ready. Hard line, ain't no games with that red flame. Triple stage of that black bang. Revolution in my veins, till we free, I won't change. And you can count on that like an abacus. Celebrate the victories and the challenges. It's deeper than social media statuses. This lifestyle full of nation building practices. Yeah.
Flag fly high, flag fly high, flag fly high.
Black fists in the sky, waving side to side. If the flag fly high. Come on.
Flag fly high, flag fly high, flag fly high.
RBG's on the rise, all eyes will recognize the flag fly high. That red, black, green, RBG, I'm about that red, black, green, that RBG, I'm about that red, that black, that green, RBG, I'm about that red, black, green, that RBG, baby, RBG, baby. Worldwide, doing this thing garbage style, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Flag fly high, my flag fly high. Come on.
Flag fly high, my flag fly high, my flag fly high. RBG's on the rise, all eyes gonna recognize. Flag fly high. Yeah.